Welcome to Shrimperscast with me, Steve Mansfield.
And me, Paul Hill. On today's show,
score draws on the doors as defensive flaws lead to snores at the hall.
Back-to-back 1-1s against Oldham away and Wealdstone at home leave Blues unbeaten in 6.
Nor rescues it up north and Sandat nets on 90 to leave Shrimpers in mid-table.
We sit down with founder and editor of Southend United fanzine, All at Sea, Jamie Forsyth.
And we preview upcoming home ties against Daggers and Dorking. Hello and welcome to another episode of Shrimperscast. I'm here on a cold, dark Thursday night with Mr. Paul Hill. Paul, how you doing, matey?
All the better for seeing you, Squire. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks, mate. Not too bad. Had a pretty busy week, as usual. Family stuff, work, but I still got time. The usual. Still got time to fit in this, haven't we? This weekly ritual of ours.
You certainly had time to sort out that intro. What was that about? God, blimey, you poet. That was brilliant.
I'm a frustrated poet, I think it's fair to say. How's your week been, Paul?
Yeah, same old, really. Yeah, out and about, working hard. And still trying to track down a guest, but we might have an absolute belter in a couple of weeks. But I'm not going to let you know who he is yet. I'm going to wait till it's over the line, and then.
You said that like we haven't got a guest. We have got a guest on today.
Yeah, we have for this week, but I'm saying, in the future, we've got an absolute banger.
You're going to hype it up. You're going to hype it up. Get that hype train going. So, last week, Southend were kind of riding high after a couple of wins, and they were unbeaten in 4.
Yep.
And going into one tricky tie and one home tie against Wealdstone, aka the most postponed game in history, except for that Scottish Cup game that you statoed about. So let's start with the Oldham game. I know neither of us went up to the game, but you were all across it following the game, and you've obviously seen the highlights. And I think fair to say, a good point on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew it's always a good game when we play Oldham. I think both teams had some chances. I think, being a Southend fan, I think we probably had a few more.
Yeah.
But, wow, Colin's save, did you see that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Oh, what a save. The agility was unbelievable to get across, and, it was a bang-on goal. And just to parry it out, I mean, what a save.
It's worth a goal, innit?
Oh, definitely. Well, I haven't seen a better save than that that I can think of this season in that league. And I might be wrong, but, yeah, what a belter of a save. But, of course, Oldham took the lead. But we're a bit, we're turning into the comeback kings, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. How many games? So the win, so it was 1-0 down and then 1-4-1.
Yeah.
And then 2-1 win from 1-0 down.
Yeah.
And then 2 draws now, back-to-back, obviously, these last 2 games, both from 1-0 down. So not giving up.
No.
There must be some kind of table on that sort of stuff. You see it pop up, don't you, sometimes on like... I actually remember seeing on the League Cup final, it came up with... goals scored after 70 minutes in the Football League, and Chelsea were top or something, or was it Liverpool? I think it was obviously it was Liverpool. It was Liverpool were top, but guess who was second? Derby County. That's right. Remember it. You heard it. That was a rambling way of saying I reckon Southend might be the team, certainly in the National League, that are getting most points from being behind.
Yes, I'd agree with that. Why not? Yeah.
We don't have any facts, but we can speculate.
Yeah, why not? But no, it was again. Getting the equaliser there, with a little deflection, helping hand in the back of the net. But again, it was another one of those where we gave it our all, and we could have nicked it had our, the ball dropped fit. Luckily for us, can't get my words out. What's going on?
Yeah,
but I think you take a point when you're away to Oldham, and that queued us up nicely for the Wealdstone game that we were both at, weren't we?
Yeah, we went down, didn't we, Tuesday night, holding hands.
Yes,
keeping each other warm.
Yep, we were. But when I was watching the Wealdstone game, I think the games are so close together, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think the effort that boys are put in on the Saturday up at Oldham with the long trip back home.
Yeah.
You could tell, couldn't you, at the beginning? We weren't as...
I wouldn't say it was the beginning. I mean, as a more neutral person, it wasn't a great performance.
No.
There was a lot of mistakes, a lot of huffing and puffing, a lot of the crowd getting frustrated, which I think was fair enough, because it wasn't the best performance. But yeah, you're right. There's reasons for it.
I just think a bit of fatigue had kicked in there.
Yeah, there's injuries as well.
Injuries as well. Yeah, Caldwell's out. He's not about for a little while, and we don't know if he's going to be back for the game Daggenham on Saturday, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, we're going to be without Kev on the touchline though.
Yeah, because of the booking.
For the booking, he's going to have to watch from the stands, but I think Wealdstone, got to give them credit. They came with the game plan. They got the early goal, didn't they?
And then they just sat back. And they actually, I thought the first sort of 20 minutes, they were the better side, footballing wise. They played well. They didn't look like part-timers to me. They took their goal well. And yeah, like you say, it was just a game plan. But they caught Southend napping, didn't they, early on? 100%. There was just before that, they almost cut through, and one of their midfielders was running across the halfway line, and sort of at that left back position, as from Southend's perspective, there was a bloke just running through on their right wing, and it was. There was so much space, and me and you were going, why is no one in that space there?
I liked him, that number 7. He was lively, wasn't he?
With the long hair,
That's it. I forgot his name.
He was a good player, good player.
Well, we were lucky not to be 3-0 down at half-time.
Yeah.
Could have easily been 3-0 down, but, luckily it wasn't. And the second half, I don't know, was it much better?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of chances.
There were, I know.
Finishing was
dreadful, wasn't it?
Unbelievably poor.
How many headers do you want to miss in the 6-yard box? I think surely it's got to be harder to miss, isn't it?
There was one where I think Sandat was under it. I mean, and it just sort of landed on his head, and it just summed it up, really.
I really thought it was going to be one of them games where everything we were trying, that final ball was letting us down, and then the goal-bound efforts were going out the stadium. We had more chance of hitting the clock in the South Bank, didn't we, than the scoring a goal. But luckily, Henry came up at the back, 90th minute, with his volley, and 1-1. We'll take that, won't we?
Yeah, no, it was a good result, and still sitting comfortably in upper mid-table, I think, at the minute, 11th position or something. So,
that game, it kind of felt. Wealdstone, what are they, 2 places below us, and that was a typical mid-table just scrap, wasn't it? Really,
yeah.
And we didn't lose. We're still in there. The thing is, we were sitting there, weren't we, on the watching on the app, and at one point, everyone in the bottom were losing in the relegation zone. We thought, brilliant, we're having a bit of daylight. Got to 90th minute. And everyone won. It's mad, isn't it? It's like 5 points or something, isn't it? Between 10th and relegation spots now.
Yeah, I mean, it's
insane.
It's ridiculously tight. There's only one team with any daylight, and that's Chesterfield right at the top. The rest is like all to play for. Really,
well, that's it. I mean, they lost. Was it 4-1 at Dorking? I don't think they really give a.
Yeah, it don't matter.
Don't matter to them. But
on the beach already. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any particular, I think they gave man of the match to Gus. I didn't really understand why. I don't think he was particularly bad, but I don't think he was particularly good either. I didn't see any particular performance that caught my eye. I mean, Waldron did have that chance, didn't he? Early on, first half, he got played. It was the first time Southend played to his strengths, really. He tried to play that ball in through and get him on the turn and his pace, because he does make that run a lot. He's very lively. He's very on his toes, I noticed.
Yep.
And he got played in. I forget who played the ball through, but he got onto it, and it was almost a lovely finish, wasn't it? He sort of chipped, he saw the keeper come in, dinked it over him.
Just not enough on it, was
just not enough, and their defender sweeps in and gets rid of it, and that was by far the best chance.
Well, he gave him a warning, didn't he? Because before then, he again, it was played through, and he hit it with some venom, didn't he? And it looked like it bounced off. I thought he came off the top of the defender's boot there.
He gave a goal kick.
But that was the warning. But that's what he could do.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get in the box. We're down the wings and pinging it in, and I think we need to be getting it through the middle a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just to add a bit of variety. To our attacking play.
I mean, it's all down the left, isn't it? And you understand why, because they are very good down there. Whereas Bridge and whatnot, and Ralph overlapping and stuff, and it's always quite dangerous. But they seem to have numbers over there, and they seem to have that, and on the other flank, Gus was always doing his thing of his kind of literal hugging the touchline and not creating a lot of space, but wasn't really being found. So frustrating, I would have said. But at the end of the day, really frustrating game. You get to 90 minutes, you get an equaliser, everyone leaves relatively happy. Much better than it.
I think we're missing Kinsdale and Taylor massively at the back there. I think if we have them there, Miley plays with a bit more confidence, massively, and that will definitely improve. Hopefully, shore up these just silly goals we're conceding. So you pointed out last week that the goals tend to be sort of losing the ball in midfield, letting them run through and score. It wasn't quite that this time, but there was a bit of that going on. And actually, you've mentioned his name, and we don't like to be overly critical, but I don't think Miley had the best game, did he? He looked a bit shaky. He put in quite a rash challenge and got a booking later on. And there was just, he just didn't... I think you're probably right. It's that, he's got different defenders behind him than he's used to, so he's lost a bit of that. Well, not only that, I don't think he's fully fit either. Him and Gus have come back from injury. I don't think they're fully fit. No. And I think that's affecting their performance as well, and they're just... but the character of the team is, roll your sleeves up, get stuck in, and let's go. Yeah. But hopefully, when you get more bodies come back from injury, give him a bit of a rest and get back, because we know he's a great player. He is a great player. We've seen it. Yeah. And every player has dips, so we're not going to hold it against him. No, of course. It's only a matter of time before it all turns around. And we do have a new signing to talk about, don't we? Yes. Who was on the bench. He didn't come on, did he? I don't think so. Our man for QPR? Yeah. Dion Woodman. Yeah, Dion. He didn't make it off the bench. We didn't see him make his debut, but decent signing, strength at the back, which is what's needed. Yes. And he, to me, looks like, we let Brooklyn go. It looks like a like-for-like swap there. Yeah. I feel. Yeah. So, but we'll see what it's all about. We've got a massive game coming up, and I think, just needs that little bit of time to settle in, get to know the players, get to know the boys, see how Kev and the boys and the three amigos work and train. And, looking forward to seeing him play. Good stuff. Okay, so we've come to the end of the first part, and we do now have a special guest who joined us for an interview online, and it's a great guy called Jamie Forsyth, who is founder and editor of All at Sea fanzine. But just before we get to that, we do have to apologise a little bit. We recorded this interview online, and our usual platform was playing up, so we had to use something called Zoom. Which is that giving everyone palpitations from the pandemic? We had to use good old Zoom, and it's not the best. So there are little stutters, little stammers, which we couldn't really edit out. So I do apologise for the poorer quality of this, but I guess that just shows the high standards that we hold ourselves to. Indeed, and it's the beauty of show business, isn't it? Absolutely. The show must go on. The show must go on, and the beauty is in the imperfections. So, without further ado, let's have a listen to our interview with Jamie. Huzzah! Paul and myself, Steve, are sat here now with a very special guest on this week's episode of Shrimperscast. We are with founder and editor of Southend United fanzine, All at Sea, Mr. Jamie Forsyth. Jamie, welcome to Shrimperscast.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I've never been described as a special guest before, so that's nice.
It's going to be a night of firsts, I'm sure. Thank you really for giving your time to us today, and making yourself available. We have been talking to your colleague Liam on the fanzine about trying to get you on for some time. So this is something ticked off the old Shrimperscast bucket list. So really, thanks for joining us. Before we get into the sort of nitty gritty of our questions, for the listeners out there who aren't aware of All at Sea fanzine, can you talk us through a little bit about the background to the fanzine, why you set it up, and what it means to you, really?
Yeah, I can't believe there could possibly be anyone out there who hasn't heard of us. But in case there are, we started in 2004. I was just fresh out of university, and throughout my time at university, I'd wanted to kind of revive it, because we had a fanzine back in 99, 2000 called Peer Pressure, which was absolutely atrocious. If you look back at it now, it's awful. But we were only 17, and we thought, it was fun. And when I went to university, I was determined that when I came back, I'd restart it. We ended up calling it All at Sea. There's three of us founded it. So that was myself, Andrew Roach, and James Forsyth. James and I ran it for several years up until about 2018, and Liam Ager joined us then, and he's been a really brilliant addition to us and helped us keep going, because at the time we were struggling a little bit for motivation and also for money, because our printer at the time we were making a loss back then. So it's been going for nearly 20 years. It's 20 years in August, so we're going to try and mark that in some way. I'm not quite sure how. Probably involve alcohol. But yeah, so it's been a long road, and we've branched out to podcasts over sort of a couple of times. We've dabbled in that. We're not very regular with that. It's not our bread and butter. But yeah, we've kind of held the same kind of loyal readership all the way through. So it's great to chat to people and meet people who really appreciate the fanzine and what we do. So that's the backstory, really.
Brilliant. It's an amazing milestone to get to then, 20 years coming up. So I'm sure the celebrations will be pretty fun. Paul and I are partial to a bit of alcohol, aren't we, Paul? So, we might, if you don't give us an invite, we'll just gate crash anyway. So, thanks for filling us in there. Paul, you got the next one?
Yeah, well, I mean, hello, mate. How are we doing? Sorry, Jamie. And
good.
Brilliant fanzine, and well done for keeping it going all of these years, and covering all of the highs and the lows of Southend's adventures. But it's been well documented, hasn't it, over the last few years. But if you could just sum it up in 3 words, I mean, it's a bit of a task. Being a Southend fan, how would you describe that just in 3 words, the last few years?
Absolutely bloody heartbreaking. It's so difficult. Yeah, it's at certain points. Personally, for me, the COVID season, the one during lockdown, the Molesley season where we crashed out of the Football League was horrible. I think most of us would probably agree with that, because it was not just the way the football was going. It was also the fact the previous season we were doing basically what Sheffield United are doing now. And also we couldn't, the effects of lockdown, I think, affected a lot of people. It certainly affected me, and it was really tough. My kids both my kids were very young. My wife was really stressed through working and trying to kind of look after the kids. I was working, trying to work from home. And then on a Saturday, you had this weird situation where you would watch Southend inevitably lose in front of a laptop. Then the final whistle goes, and then you shut your laptop down and you just get back immediately to the harsh realities of life. And that was really tough. Normally we would go down the pub, wouldn't we, and dissect a defeat over a few beers, and eventually after an hour or so it would start to feel a little bit better. We never had that, and that was really tough. So that was particular nadir, probably. But yeah, I mean, for a fanzine, it's certainly been interesting, because we haven't been able to talk about football very much, which is, I mean, I've had to become an expert. Liam is in particular, and I have had to become experts in all kinds of non-football related legal issues and things like that. We've all had to kind of become versed in that, haven't we, with what's gone on off the pitch, and it's not really what we got into it for, is it? So it's been nice over the last few months to focus a little bit more on actually the football team, which has been great. Really enjoyed it. This season has been despite the league position. I know we want to be higher in the table, but I've really enjoyed this season.
Absolutely. Amazing performances, amazing results, really, given all the odds stacked against them. So completely agree with you there. That was a bit of a downer, you know, looking back at COVID and all that, and it was a really tough time, wasn't it? But my next question is going to give you a chance to shine a bit of a positive light on your Southend fandom. What would you say in the history of yourself supporting Southend? I don't know how many years you've been following the club, but what's the high point in your time? You know, you don't have to pick necessarily one, but you know, give us the high points from your time supporting them, Jamie.
Well, you know, I can't complain about my support for Southend United. It's given me plenty of highs, and I'd say I'm torn. Really, I think it's one of the playoff finals. Certainly, it's going to even. I think I'm probably going to edge for 2004, 2005 because because I started supporting the club at the start, or sort of towards the mid 90s when we'd been in Division 1 as it was then for quite a while. And things had started to slip a bit. And actually, the first two seasons when I had a season ticket were the two relegation seasons back to back, where we dropped into Division 3. So I didn't really have an awful lot of luck at the start of my Southend. And then we had a couple of mid-table seasons where we were a bit rubbish. We didn't get relegated, but we weren't far off it. And I think when we went to Cardiff and won with those extra time goals. I never actually, deep down, I never thought I'd see a promotion. I never thought it would happen just because those 7 or 8 years I've just seen nothing but disappointment. So I was at that was probably why it was so special. And, you know, Freddie Eastwood, what a player he was. I just watching that season was just so enjoyable, the way they played, and Kevin Mayer and Adam Barrett and so many players who I would say now are my favourite players, you know, of any Southend team. So the other alternative was probably what most people would say is that was the Wembley 2015 playoff final, which if you couldn't write that any better than it was, I don't think the way we went 6 games without conceding a goal towards the end of the season. We needed something on Morecambe, we didn't get it. I remember driving back in a minibus, very, very forlorn, a long journey back with sort of 7 or 8 of us who normally on the beers, this win or lose, and enjoying ourselves. It was very down. And then to go to Wembley and look down and out again, and to come back and to win the way we did was just unbelievable, really. Just the way it still gets shown, it still gets an airing, doesn't it, on Sky Sports Football every now and again as like one of the most memorable playoff finals in recent times, which is testament really to how good it was.
Amazing, yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, I think I was there at both playoff finals, and what a way to go. We don't make it easy for ourselves, do we?
No, we don't. We never go up with kind of a simple, like Chesterfield are doing right now. And they've got the cigars out, haven't they? They're not worried. You know, they lost 4-1 to Dorking. They don't give a monkeys, really. They're up. So we never do that.
Absolutely. Well, you've given 2 brilliant hires there, but what would you say would be your lows as a Southend fan? Falling out of the Football League, or nearly going bust? It's got to be one of those two, surely, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say definitely the latter. I mean, I watch Southend United wherever they're playing. Falling out of the league was gutting, of course it was, but it was been coming for a while, and we knew it was going to happen. And even if we got relegated into the National League South, it would be devastating, absolutely devastating. But I'd still go. Going bust, then you really don't know what the future holds, do you? It just doesn't even bear thinking about. And there was at least 3 or 4 occasions this past 12 months where I genuinely thought, I don't see how we're going to get out of it this time. There are people. Liam's quite on the ground with this stuff, and he talks to me about what's been going on in meetings that he's had, which I can't share. I couldn't share at the time, but I do understand that at one point it was minutes. So it really was that close, and that being in the know about it as well, sort of in the know about it, actually made it worse in many ways, because you're kind of burdened with this knowledge that you can't really share, but everyone's asking you about it because people are reading about it in the papers, and people who don't support Southend are asking, what's going on at Southend? You get sick of the same questions. Yeah, that was difficult. And that summer, I just found it really, with the takeover not happening, and the Kimura stuff, that was really hard to focus on the day-to-day life, work, and things like that. It was really tough to kind of take your focus off what's going on off the pitch. Really worrying time. So, without a doubt, that's the lowest point. Probably last summer, the lowest point of my Southend supporting life.
You mentioned it earlier, and you've sort of mentioned Liam again there. So we have had Liam Ager on the show before, and great guy, really clued up, knows his stuff. And you mentioned earlier that you sort of probably had to get used to learning about corporate law and shareholders and what happens with share dilutions and all this stuff that that's not what any football fan's in it for. So I can imagine that being really tough. But could you talk us through your involvement in that sort of, backstage stuff, in terms of, because I think the fans did a great job, didn't they, on the whole, of putting pressure on Ron and putting pressure on the council, and kind of, banging that drum and making it really clear how important it is for the club to survive. So what was your involvement in that, Jamie? I don't know if you were heavily involved or sort of more tactical, more in the background, and just talk us through those months, really.
Yeah, I describe myself as being kind of on the periphery of the inner circle. So Liam is he hasn't got a young family like I have, and he really stepped up and took it on himself to. So hang on a minute, we need to save this club. We need to actually take some action here. And I will just say topically now, because I understand that Paul Fitzgerald, the chairman of the Shrimpers Trust, has stepped down from his role. He deserves an awful lot of credit for what he's done over the past year or so. So I was in on WhatsApp groups with sort of the Shrimpers Trust and the protest group. Liam was filling me in on some of the meetings he was having with, I met with Ron Martin, with James Schooley, who's now I think he's now replacing Paul as chair of Shrimpers Trust, but hopefully I've got that right. But we had a call with him and Tom Lawrence about the season tickets, because at one point we were withholding, or the fans had chosen, we'd had a united front that said we're going to hold back on buying season tickets. I think it was something like that. And Ron and Tom came to us and said, can we have a call, and can we kind of get around the table and talk about this? And it was about an hour and a half long phone call we had, and he just lied and lied and lied. We didn't know at the time he was lying. It became clear in the months after that he was just lying to us constantly, just to try and get us to stand the fans down, really. And nobody wanted to do that. Nobody wanted to hold season ticket sales back because it affects the club. But it was kind of to try and get somewhere with the sale of the club and things like that. So that was an example of my involvement, but mainly it was Liam. I'd say Liam was sort of really at the coalface of it. He put a lot of hours in his own time alongside his full-time job to do this. And a key moment, I think, was getting the protest guys to work with us, because initially I think they were wary of the trust, and I can understand that, because it's not an easy thing to do when you're involved in direct action, is to put yourself out there, put your names out there, and try and be part of democratic action. That's not an easy thing to do, so I understand that. But getting them on board with what we were trying to do, which was kind of a pincer movement, they were doing the protests, they were doing the direct action, coordinating that. We were kind of doing the more, diplomatic side of stuff, talking to the media, trying to use our contacts to do that, trying to get around the table with the club. And it kind of put pressure on Ron in a different way. So we needed both those sides of pressure to kind of get where we wanted to be. But it was just complicated at every step by the lies and the attitude of not just Ron Martin but his family. So it's been quite an attritional few months, and I was relieved when but everyone, like we all were absolutely delighted when it was announced that the sale was happening, and finally we could not relax, because I don't think you ever can. Even now, we have to be ready. But yeah, to have that kind of reassurance that we had done the hard part. I say we, but I mean, like I said, I really wouldn't describe myself as someone who was heavily involved, but I was getting updates regularly from Liam and the other guys on the WhatsApp group. And I went to court once, Liam went twice. It's not fun spending £25 on a travel card just to go and watch your club nearly die. So couldn't claim expenses either. So
you can think of better things to do with your time.
I can. I just annual leave, isn't it? That's my wife was furious. It's like, that's supposed to be for school holidays, mate. What are you doing? But,
well, outstanding dedication there, though, Jamie, by getting up there to court and reporting it, because I remember we were delivering the pod at the time, and it was very hard to get any information, and it was great that it was someone was in there in the courtroom telling it how it is, and we were all glued to the Twitter feed that was coming out, so that was absolutely superb. But you mentioned there with the consortium coming in and things are looking better. So how are you feeling about the consortium in the future now of Southend United?
Really, really positive about the consortium. I think they're really speaking the way that I would. If I had to write down what I wanted a club ownership to look like and the priorities that they have, it would be exactly what they have been talking about. You need a holistic way of running the club, sustainable, a real focal point on the community. We need to build those bridges with local businesses, kind of community groups, and making and Roots Hall. The fact we're staying at Roots Hall now, that is phenomenal, because I bought it. I bought the Fossett's Farm stuff. I think a lot of us did, because it was kind of like perceived wisdom, wasn't it? Or received wisdom, that we've been fed this stuff about revenue streams and how the club can only ever survive away from Roots Hall. We've been fed that for so long that you stopped kind of questioning it, and you kind of just assumed that it was. He got us at a bad point, didn't he? A vulnerable point when we were doing really well, marched into the Championship, and he got us all outside the Civic Centre holding up placards. There's a few people who didn't buy it at all over the years, and I take my hat off to them, because it was actually quite convincing. I fell for it. And then the moment they came in and said, well, actually, no, we're not moving. We're not going to Roots Hall. We're not leaving Roots Hall. We're taking a different direction. I just suddenly realised that we don't need to leave, do we? We don't have to. We can stay. Like, we can build this place. Someone's willing to build this place up, repair it, and make it. And I'm really excited about the potential of Roots Hall and what we can start to see, because we've had 25 years of basically just walking around at something that's literally crumbling around us. The idea that there's going to be a nice food offering, new bars, even a new scoreboard is actually quite sad as it sounds. I'm actually quite excited about it. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the consortium guys, and they all seem like they are coming from a place of genuine care for the football club, and even Justin, who at the start it was a bit of a puzzle why he decided to get involved, and he's explained it. Even he's kind of really seems to have fallen in love with the place and the club, and he's I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he's been on his pub rounds, because I'm often found in pubs around Roots Hall. So yeah, he seems really genuine and gets on well with the other guys, and I think we haven't seen any cracks in that. It's going to be interesting to see how they do it with 10 of them, but at the moment we're all just hoping that the council can get this. I hate this phrase, due diligence, because that phrase I think it's going to be one that we're all going to remember, isn't it? That word, those words. But that needs to be done and sorted as soon as possible, and hopefully it will be.
Yep, absolutely. You mentioned there about the scoreboard. Paul and I were at the Wealdstone game last night, and one of the older boys that sits near us, I think he said something like, well, it's the only ground in the world where you don't know what time it is in the game. You have to check your watch to see what minute it is and then calculate it back. But it was brilliant. He was having a right moan about it, wasn't it? It was great fun. But yeah. Problems. Yeah, first world problems, but would it not be brilliant to have a proper scoreboard? I think even the clock in the other stand is just stopped, you know. So final question from me, Jamie. So, you know, I guess focusing back on the consortium, if you could have one wish for them to deliver for Southend, what would it be?
That's a great question. I'll have a little think about that one. One wish, I guess is boring, but I guess you'd say that you would have a football club that my children and my grandchildren will still be there for them when they want to come and watch. My son's 7; he's not interested at all. I can't get him down there for love nor money. But that might change in the future. So you know, it's that just sustainable, something that is going to be there for a long time and isn't in jeopardy every few months. Really, I think that's all we can ask for.
Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally agree. Okay, Jamie, big thank you for joining us, and we'll catch up with you again soon, mate. Cheers.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Jamie. Nice one.
Big thank you there to Jamie Forsyth of All at Sea fanzine.
Top man. But yes, you've got to check out their socials. They are over on X, formerly known as Twitter, at All at Sea fanzine. And I think you've got his Instagram, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's exactly the same on the old Instagram, which is just All at Sea fanzine. So do give them a follow. I'm sure you already do. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a fan of All at Sea fanzine. Big thank you to Jamie.
Yes, and if you see them pottering around outside Roots Hall, go up and see them and buy the fanzine and, yes, support their work.
Good stuff. Right, take a little break. Back in a mo.
Wallop.
Okay, now it's time for everyone's favourite part of the show.
Paul's previews.
Paul, 2 games coming up, 2 home games. First one is a late kickoff.
Yep.
Saturday night, because it's on BT or whatever they call it. TNT, sorry. I'm not going to get any free subscriptions from TNT for plugging them using their old name. TNT Sports on Saturday night, 5:30 kickoff. Welcome in local rivals.
Yeah.
Daggenham and Redbridge. What have you got for us, Paul?
Well, this is going to be an absolute lively one, I reckon.
Ding dong.
A proper ding dong. We are unbeaten in 6, and in our last 5 in the league, we've won 3, drawn the 2, scoring 10, conceding 5. In our last 5 games at the Hall, we have won 2, drawn 1, lost 2, scoring the 7, conceding 5. And so we've got Daggenham and Redbridge coming up first. And in the last 5 in the league, they've won 2, drew 1, lost 2, scoring 13, conceding 6. But on the road, they've only won 1, drawn 3, lost 1, scoring the 7, conceding 7. So, but it's a derby, isn't it? Anything can happen.
None of that matters. All those numbers you've just read out, all of that.
Put them in the bin.
Yeah,
just put them all in the bin. Nothing matters. Nothing matters at all. All that does matter is their man up top, Ini Effiong, 14. He's already got this season, and but it's always going to be a lively game. They're going to bring down probably, their usual home attendance just to the North Bank.
Yeah. So it's a very big game for them, isn't it?
It is. No disrespect to any Dagenham fans listening out there, but yes, I'm sure they will fill up the North Bank. But it's going to be an absolute, what an occasion. This is what football's all about, isn't it? Big derbies. Roots will be rocking on the television. And I'm going to go 3-1 Southend. Yeah, so Southend have a game in hand on Dagenham at the minute. They've played 37 games. Southend have played 36. And Southend are just 1 point above them. Obviously, we know, don't we, that there were 10 points taken away cruelly and unfairly because of Ron's shenanigans. Cheers, Ron. Cheers, Ron, again. But, they're very close together in the table. So, big game for both teams. But a lot of motivation for Dagenham, I think, to come and make it a good game and try and get the 3 points for them. So it should be a tough one. Absolutely. Well, then straight off the back end of that, it's into Tuesday and we welcome Dorking to the Hall. And, well, in their last 5, they've won 2, drawn 1, lost 2, scoring 7, conceding 7. And on the road, they've won 2, drew 1, lost 2, scoring 6, conceding 4. And they are yet to beat us at Roots Hall. Right. So I can't really see him doing it. I mean, they did get a result against Chesterfield, didn't they? 4-1.
Yeah.
But I think that's a freak result. I think Chesterfield already had their cigars out and looking forward to their summer holidays.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to come out the Daggenham game as long as it's not too much of a bruiser and we don't get too many people sent off and too many injuries kicking in. I think, again, it will be another good one under the lights at Roots Hall as well. Dorking are scrapping down there. All the teams are down there.
Yeah.
So you can't write anyone off, really.
Yeah.
But we're at that stage of the season now where these points are starting to mean something, because you pick up a few points in that bottom, you're going to close it down if you win where we are, and we start pulling away.
Yeah.
So it's a pivotal moment, but we've got to go in there full of confidence. Like I say, unbeaten in 6, let's make it unbeaten in 7 and unbeaten in 8.
Yeah, they're going to have a massive motivation to get some points, really. They're fighting for survival. They are in that 4th relegation spot, sitting on 41 points, level on points with Woking. But they've played a game less than Woking, so they have a game in hand on their sort of nearest rivals there. But like you say, all those teams down there are going to be fighting and scrapping to try and stay up. So
absolutely,
it's not going to be easy.
No, not at all. I mean, look at that. Look, from 23rd all the way up, just looking up until 15th, it's 6 points.
Yeah.
So this could be the weekend where we could start seeing that breaking away, that moving up, putting a bit of daylight between us and the bottom 3. Because if we lose these two, no.
Well, this is it. We've been saying that for a while. Southend aren't actually safe. They're... Sometimes it feels like, a bit of momentum here and a bit comfortable, but there isn't anything like that in this division unless you're right up there. So, the games come thick and fast. You can get 2 losses and all of a sudden
you're back down there.
Situation's totally different to what it was before. So
it's all to play for.
It's all to play for. Exactly. Okay, so, I think that's us done, Paul. Big thank you to everyone out there listening, and big thanks to yourself, of course, Paul.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, sir.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I come out at night and I just want to hear that catchphrase. It's a famous catchphrase. Big thanks to Jamie Forsyth for coming on the show.
Top man,
talking us through the fanzine and his lifelong passion for Southend United and all the ups and downs that he's seen. Join us next week where we'll have another show and a couple of home games to review. Have a good week, everyone, and up the Blues.
Up the Blues.